Hello friends, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Peef, and this is Peef's Kitchen. Today we're going to make this lovely little New York style cheesecake. It's made in a 4-inch Springform pan in the Instant Pot. And it's not my recipe. The recipe is from Amy and Jackie at pressurecookrecipes.com. They made an enormous 7-inch cheesecake that's 3 inches in 3 inches deep in their 5-quart Instant Pot. I have a 3-quart Instant Pot, and so I use a 4-inch Springform pan that's 1 3/4 inches deep. Therefore, I had to do some math about the volume of a cylinder. Figure out that exactly what you need is 20% of the original recipe. I also cut down the cooking time because it's not as deep as the original recipe. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is take about 2 teaspoons of dark brown sugar. You can use either light brown or dark brown. I like dark brown because it makes a little better of a gooey stuff after a couple of days. And then you take 2 graham crackers and just put them all in the blender. And the Ninja, as I call it, or as I have. You can use anything you want. And just blend it into submission. Did I say about the salt? Just a teeny little pinch of salt. Then it goes in a bowl, and we're going to take about 2 teaspoons of butter. I use just plain butter. I don't like margarine. And we microwave that for 15 seconds. I forgot the paper towel. It'll be all over the microwave if I don't use that. And there we go. So all we do is just dump it in on the graham cracker mixture and stir it up till it's coated with butter. Put it in our little Springform pan. You can see I've made a few cheesecakes in this pan. This is cheesecake number 382, I think. And then you just mash it down. And the recipe calls for either baking it. You can add some flour and bake it, or you can just do what I do, which is just stick it in the freezer for an hour or more, and it'll turn out just fine. So we're going to go put it in the freezer. Okay, next we are going to get the rest of the ingredients ready. And we have to sit these out for 3 hours. So I take a jumbo egg and just sit it out. We're not going to use the whole thing. I'm going to beat it up and use about half of it. I turn this upside down so the cats can't get into the butter. So I have 3 1-cup bowls, and the first one is going to have the dry ingredients. You take 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and then we're going to take 2 tablespoons of sugar. And if you want to make a keto version of this, instead of 2 tablespoons of sugar, use 1 tablespoon of Splenda, and that'll be plenty sweet of that Splenda baking mix. And if you're doing keto, you probably want to make the crust with macadamia nuts instead of graham crackers. So we've got that. We need a little pinch of salt so it has some flavor. Not a lot, just a little bit. Stir it up. And that one's ready to go. The next one is the sour cream. And I usually use 2 pretty good healthy tablespoons of sour cream. So it's really probably the equivalent of 3 tablespoons. And then I use some homemade vanilla that I make with Absolute vodka and vanilla beans. And that gives it a pretty good flavor. And I usually just pour it in. There's probably at least a tablespoon in there. I use the good vodka so it's smooth, and because I don't want to be seen buying cheap vodka in the grocery store. So there's the next one. And the third one is going to be the cream cheese. And I want 3.3 ounces of cream cheese. If it's a little more, that's okay too, but I can usually get pretty close. Let's see how we did. 2.72, that's not very close. Let's see. There, 3.6, close enough. Okay, now we just keep those all in a row with the egg. Those are the 4 things we're going to mix together later. We're going to leave that for 3 hours or so until it reaches room temperature. So I'll be right back in 3 hours. Hi, we're back. It's 3 hours later, and it's time to make the cheesecake. First, we've got the 3.6 ounces of cream cheese, which is just a smidge more than I need, but that's okay. Just going to blend that real quick. On low, you don't want to whip it too much because then you'll whip air into it, and your cheesecake will either be too fluffy or you'll have to beat it so that it's not so fluffy. And I'll show you how to do that when we get this all mixed up. Okay, the next one is the mixture of cornstarch and sugar and salt. So that's, you always do it on low because you don't want a giant cloud coming out. That's all we needed, just a little smidge. The next one is the vanilla sour cream mixture. And we can mix that up a little bit more. And then the last one is the half of a jumbo egg. And we'll just... And I'll just unplug this and set it aside for Thomas, our orange cat who likes to lick the beaters. And Steve's going to insert a picture or a video of Thomas licking the beaters. So here's our little crust that has been sitting in the freezer for a couple of hours. And I'm just going to put that in there. It looks a little lumpy, but that's okay. And what you want to do is make sure that it's full, but not over full, because it will boil up in the Instant Pot. And if you put too much in it, it'll boil over and make a big mess in the water. Not a big deal, but if you want to lick the bowl, you can always have more if you don't overfill it. So anyway, the next thing we're going to do is kind of smack this around a little bit so that we can get the air bubbles out of it, and it won't be too fluffy. It'd be more of a solid cheesecake, which is what Steve likes. And I try and do it in 16th notes, even though I have no rhythm. You can start to see there's some some air bubbles coming up. I think that's good enough. Now we're ready to start cooking the cheesecake. So I've got about 12 ounces of water here. It doesn't have to be that much. It doesn't have to be a specific amount as long as it's good for pressure cooking your whatever you're cooking. And I've got a little rack to put it on. I like the taller one. I have a shorter one for eggs and such, but that one works pretty good. Okay, and now we're going to put the seal in, the silicone ring in the top of the lid so that it will seal properly. I have a brown one for sweet stuff and a white one for savory stuff. Okay, and then we'll seal it. And then we push the button, and it's set right now for 7 minutes. So I'm going to set it up to 22, which is where I like to cook it. And then just set it and forget it, so to speak. And in about 30 minutes, it will beep, and we will have to release the pressure. So that's it for now. So we're done, and we need to release this pressure and Instant Pot. And it's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, because you can smell the cheesecake. And we're good to open it up. And it looks like it boiled over a little bit, which is okay. And there we go. It's going to bubble a little bit. You can see it. And I'm going to get a knife and just kind of score around the edges so as it cools and settles, it's not going to stick to the Springform Pan. And I'll just leave it there to sit and cool. Then we'll stick it in the fridge. And that's all there is to it. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my cheesecake video. I will put the recipe in the description box below. And I will put a link to the original recipe that I got this from. Thanks for watching.